Hello. Today I am reading chapter 6 from It's Okay That You're Not Okay by Megan Devine. Living in the Reality of Loss. This starts part 2 of the book, which is called What to Do with Your Grief. And there's a note before the chapter begins. It says, on right timing, a note before we get started. I devoured books on grief and loss when Matt first died. I hated most of them. I would flip to the back of a new book to see if the widowed author had remarried. If they had, I wouldn't read the book. Clearly, they did not understand what it was like to be me. I would get all excited reading the first few chapters of a new book on loss, only to hurl it away in disgust when subsequent chapters started talking about rebuilding my life and all the great things I might do as a result of his loss. The problem wasn't always in the books themselves. There are plenty of good books out there. The problem was that most of the books spoke on later grief. They spoke to a time when the world had stopped tilting so violently, when all the dust had settled and the immediacy of grief was not so sharp. That's a great time to talk about rebuilding or building a new life. But when your life has newly exploded, that is not the time for books on how to build a great and glorious future. So there's something important here about the right timing. Thoughts about how you live inside this grief need to match what you are currently living. If something, even in this very book, feels offensive to you, it's probably not a good match for where you are. There's a timing mismatch. In the early days, survival is different from survival over the weeks, months, and years to come. As you're looking for things to help you survive your loss, you might ask yourself what you need most and look for those resources that can speak to that place. What I've outlined in this book is not about fixing your grief. What I've outlined in this book is not about fixing your grief, nor is it about the future that awaits. It's meant to help you survive right here, right now. May you find something useful in these words. And then into chapter 6. The only way I know to start talking about the reality of grief is to begin with annihilation. There is a quiet and stillness that pervades everything in early grief. Loss stuns us into a place beyond any language. No matter how carefully I craft my words, I cannot reach where this lives in you. Language is a cover for that annihilated stillness, and a poor one at that. But words are all we have, all I have, to reach you in this place. Please know that I am aware of how impossible this is, how none of my words will really change anything. Acknowledgement is one of the few things that actually helps. What you're living can't be fixed. It can't be made better. There are no solutions. That means that our course of action inside grief is simple, helping you gauge what's normal and finding ways to support your devastated heart. This part of the book is about helping you survive the bizarre territory of intense grief. Naming the craziness of this time is powerful. It helps to know what's normal when nothing feels normal. In this chapter's short sections, we cover some of the most common questions, concerns, and challenges inside grief. It's a bit of a crazy quilt jumping from one weirdness to the next, but there's just so much to juggle inside grief. It really is all over the place. When there's a tool to use to manage the crazy, I've included it. Where there is no tool, acknowledgement is the best medicine. I haven't addressed all the challenges of grief or the questions about what's normal. There are simply too many. If there's something you want answered, please be in touch. And this is a quote from Megan's early journals. You would say, why do people need to keep ashes? Can't they just let go? Yes, babe. Eventually, I will take those bones and those teeth and that body I love to the river and to the woods. I will release that vessel I've loved so much in so many different ways. But right now, your remains remain. Safely sealed in a plastic urn inside a plastic box, inside a cardboard box sealed with tape and a sticker bearing your name. To take them out is to see you, to see the body I have loved reduced to a permanent state of ash. Right now, I can't let go. I can't let this in. I can't accept this in any way. I cannot swallow this truth that you are gone, that the life we planned is done. If I try to look directly at that fact that I refuse to let be fact, I feel the explosion start inside of me. The world cracks and my lungs fill and I cannot breathe. All I know is that I cannot do that. I cannot look directly at this. Everything inside me will explode and I cannot bear the tearing. It's too big. It's too severe. I'm being beaten by all this and packing and the moving, your truck in my driveway that will be sold in the next 2 days, the bed in pieces in my room waiting to be rebuilt, your photos, your ashes, the people clamoring for pieces of you, all of our things piled in various rooms. You're gone. And I can't know that now, that you were here, that moment, just a regular moment, and then you were gone. From my early journals, Megan Devine's early journals. For all you've had to do, the sheer number of things you need to do when someone has died is mind-boggling. Somehow, things get done. You sit down with your kids or your partner or your parents and say the words you should never have to say. You call everyone on the phone list, reciting the facts over and over again. Simple, direct. You talk with reporters and doctors and search teams. You shop for the best price on cremation or burial. Call landlords, organize memorials, locate someone to take care of the dog. Eulogies are written or quiet. Personal prayers are said. There isn't enough paper in the world to write down all the minute details that death brings into your life. Again, I circle back to acknowledgement as the only form of medicine that helps. For everything you've had to do, love, I'm so sorry. It's okay to let people help where they can, if that relieves some of your burden. For some people, taking care of these details is the last tangible, intimate act of love they can do for the person who's died. There's no one right answer. Delegate what feels overwhelming, and wherever possible, don't let anyone take over acts of intimacy that feel important to you. Telling the story. You might find that you tell the story of your loss again and again, even or especially to random strangers or people you've just met. Or in your mind, you rehearse the events that led up to this loss again and again. That's all normal. Humans are storytelling creatures. It's why we have a cultural mythologies, creation stories, and movies. Telling the story of this loss over and over, it's like we're looking for an alternate ending, a loophole, some way the outcome might have changed, could still change. Maybe we missed something. If we can only get the story right, none of this would be happening. It doesn't matter that that's not logical. Logic means nothing. Telling the story feels both necessary and torturous. It is both necessary and torturous. We'll talk about this more in the section on grief and anxiety. But for now, please know that this is a normal part of grief. Repetition of the story is a safety mechanism, one way the creative mind tries to reorder the world when it's been dissolved. We tell the story again and again because the story needs to be told. We're looking for some way this makes sense, even if it never can. If you can't tell your story to another human, find another way. Journal, paint, Make your grief into a graphic novel with a very dark storyline, or go out into the woods and tell the trees. It is an immense relief to be able to tell your story without someone trying to fix it. The trees will not ask, "How are you, really?" And the wind doesn't care if you cry. Little landmines. How many times have people encouraged you to take your mind off of this for a while, or they avoided speaking your person's name so they don't remind you of what you've lost, as if you could forget even for a moment? We all need a little respite. You can't keep staring at loss every single second. Your physical organism simply can't withstand it. The tricky thing is, especially in early grief, pain is everywhere. There is nothing that isn't connected to loss. Taking a break from pain often backfires miserably. Going to the movies can be an especially cruel experience. You go for a non-sad movie only to find the main character is widowed, or you realize halfway through that you can never crack jokes with your sister about this movie, or that your child will never see it. Innocuous, everyday things become loaded. The first time you have to fill out a form and choose widowed, or you're asked how many children you have. When you get to the emergency contact part of the form and realize you can no longer put down the name of the person who has held that spot for years. Dragging yourself to a party, thinking you need to get out more, only to have every single small talk question point to the only answer: death. And it's not just when you go looking for distraction. Everyday life is full of reminders and grief, landmines that the non-grieving wouldn't even think of. When someone you love dies, and you don't just lose them in the present or in the past, you lose the future you should have had and might have had with them. They're missing from all the life that was to be. Seeing other people get married, have kids, travel, all the things you expected out of life with your person, gone. Seeing other children go to kindergarten or graduate or get married, all those things your child should have done had they lived. Your kids never get to know their brilliant uncle. Your friend never gets to read your finished book. Whatever the relationship, seeing evidence of those same relationships going on in the rest of the world is brutal and unfair and impossible to withstand. Especially in the early days, the effort to join the world again is monumental. Those densely scattered grief landmines are hard to face. Human interaction is often exhausting. Many people choose to shrink their world down considerably, refusing invitations and anything and everything. Even staunch extroverts find that they need a lot more time alone and quiet than they ever did before. Please know that if the outside world feels too harsh or too saturated with all things grief, you aren't being too sensitive. The world is full of things connected to your grief. If there is anything that gives you even a moment's relief of respite, move toward that. It makes no difference what it is. Finding a break in grief is nearly impossible, but those occasional breaks are necessary. A day or more inside a blanket fort of your own choosing is healthy. Grief at the grocery store. It comes up often enough as a stressor that one task of everyday life needs to be addressed on its own: the grocery store. In early grief, a simple trip to the grocery store is anything but simple. You could run into a number of people who want to know, how are you really? Those well-meaning yet intrusive questions into your inner emotional state can come at any time, no matter how much you may not want to talk about it. It's funny, whenever I talk about the specific difficulties of grocery shopping, almost everyone has their own story to share. Some shop only after 10 p.m. to avoid any people they might know. Others drive an hour out of their way just to be able to shop anonymously. That's yet another thing people outside of grief wouldn't normally think about. especially if your loss was out of order or unusual. It becomes a topic up for public discussion. Anytime you are out in public, people feel the need to come close, to ask, to check on you. It doesn't often matter whether you are friends with the person or not. In fact, the more distant the relationship, the more probing you might receive while hovering over the produce bin. I know I stopped shopping at a certain store because a friend of a friend worked there. If she saw me, a long, drawn-out inquiry would begin with questions about my emotional health, my plans for the future, and requests for intimate details about what actually happened at the river that day. I realized I could have told her to stop, but that took energy, interest, and skills I did not have in me at the time. Shopping somewhere else made more sense. No wonder grief is so exhausting. It's not just the intense actual pain of loss, it's the sheer number of tiny things that need to be avoided, endured, planned for, impossible to tell from the outside, but those of us in grief absolutely understand. We all have our own stories of exhaustion, avoidance, and the need to just not talk. It's okay to avoid people. It's okay, even healthy, to drive an hour out of your way just to get groceries in order to buy yourself some anonymity. You deserve that distance. You deserve the right to tell your stories when and where you see fit, with a vast, invisible shield of protection for you as you move in the world without wanting to talk to anyone at all. Whatever you need to in order to feel that protection, that's the thing to do. And one more thing about the grocery store. Many people get overwhelmed with all the things they no longer need to buy for the person they lost. There's no need for their favorite cookies or their morning tea. Abandoned shopping carts are quite common in the world of grieving hearts. Other than home grocery delivery, a great thing, by the way, there's really no way around that one. Rules around self-kindness apply here. Pace yourself. Allow yourself to leave the store when you need to, no matter how full your cart is. And give yourself some time after the trip to breathe in how hard this all is. Normal life tasks often bring your loss into the sharpest contrast. When it's time to. Because there's so much unsolicited advice and opinion floating around the grief world. It's easy to lose track of what you actually want for yourself. Many people write to me wondering when is the right time to remove their wedding rings or convert their child's bedroom into a guest room or stop referring to their brother in the present tense. The answer is simple. There is no right time. You can't wait for the time to feel right because it likely never will. None of this is something you would ever choose. When you're trying to make a decision, you can't wait until it feels good. I like the vomit metric for making decisions. If taking off your wedding ring makes you feel sick, it's not the right time to take it off. If you start to panic at the thought of moving anything in your child's room, then don't move anything. If someone has told you it's time to donate your sister's clothes and you break out in hives, immortalize her closet. You don't have to change anything until you're ready. There are weird family politics to contend with at times for sure, but for the most part, what you do with the things in your home or on your body is up to you. When you make larger life decisions, like when or whether to date, sell your house, or change careers, it's entirely up to you. No time is the right time. Nothing is too early or too late. Along these same lines, it's perfectly normal to leave things exactly as your person left them. Evidence that they were here, that they lived, that they were part of you is important. When your life has evaporated, those touchstones become the whole world. A friend whose husband drowned the year after Matt died told me she kept a bottle of his hot sauce with her through 2 different moves. She couldn't bear to see the refrigerator without it, even though she would never open the bottle again. I kept the container of ice cream Matt and I bought 2 nights before he died, right up until I moved across the country 4 years later. It was nearly a year before I changed the sheets on the bed where we last slept. You will do what you need to do when you need to do it, not a moment before. It will never feel good, but if it makes you feel sick, now is not the time. Use the vomit metric for any decisions you have to make and for the ones you feel like you're supposed to make. On anniversaries and memorials, what do we do on his death date? Am I supposed to celebrate our wedding anniversary or their birthday, even when they're dead? Do they have birthdays when they're dead? Both my mother and mother-in-law wanted me to be excited about and involved in their projects to memorialize Matt's life, an excitement I did not have in me at the time. Every time they went to talk about this tree or that garden and how I needed to be involved or choose or attend, I had to fight back the words, I don't want a stupid tree. I want him back. I don't care what kind of flowers you put there. It's your garden, not his. And oh, the number of times I had to bite my tongue and use my grown-up words when some distant family member insisted on a hyper-religious memorial that would have made even Matt lose his temper. In the end, of course, no one could truly win. No matter what got planted or who gathered in his name, my love was still dead. He was still not coming back. There is no one right way to honor someone you love. Each relationship leaves its mark. Each mark is yours alone. Your way of memorializing a life is right only for you. One of the best things someone said to me as I approached Matt's 1-year date was, "You always have the right to leave. Even if you just got there, even if you planned the whole thing. No one else has to live this like you do. Leave whenever you need." Just having that permission to leave made it easier to stay. No matter what you've planned, you can change your mind at any time. It's also okay to not plan anything. Instead, waiting to check in with yourself when that special date comes. Often, the lead up to the big date is harder than the date itself. Maybe you want to do something, maybe not. You might ask other family members and friends how they'd like to plan the day. Encouraging conversation, leaving room for resistance and refusal is an elegant way to gauge how the people in your life are feeling about those dates for your own close family union, or to be blunt, what's left of it. Incorporate elements of each person's vision into the day. While others may join in on your plans, remember that they will have their own expressions too. They deserve the right to decline or pull away or to not participate. Everyone grieves differently, and everyone has a different way they memorialize or acknowledge the person who is gone. To the best of your ability, offer respect to other ways of doing things while honoring your own needs. Remember that no one is likely to be 100% happy. In fact, memorials and anniversary events are often a hot spot. Tempers flare, old issues resurface, social skills erode. Whatever you choose to do or not to do your best to pace yourself. Keep checking in with your heart about what you might need in any given moment. None of this is easy, even if what you've planned goes beautifully. Kids and grief. It might also be true for you that it's not just yourself you need to think about. No matter what their ages, your children will be affected by grief, whether it's their loss directly or their living with the effects of grief on you. My stepson turned 18 the day after his father died. Not super young, but in many ways still a child. The outside world saw him as an adult that day. He was called to make decisions no child should ever make. No child should ever have to make. He'd always been rather quiet about his own internal feelings, and living through his grief was no exception. In the weeks and months that followed, we talked around what had happened. We talked about the inner world of grief and how different people process it differently. His tendency to be more private, plus his natural teenagerness, meant he didn't say very much about his dad. He even said less about himself. Given that my stepson was older and struck out on his own soon after Matt died, I didn't have the same worries that many of you have as a parent, as you parent your children through loss. I didn't have the heartbreak of seeing a very young child grow up with a few to no physical memories. I didn't worry about how other kids would treat my stepson at school or how the teachers would handle his loss. I worry about his life unfolding without his father's guidance, but I know he had 18 years of soaking up his dad's presence and influence. I can only hope his father's love infuses him, holds him up, helps him even now. Someone asked me the other day if I thought my stepson had processed his dad's death or if it continues to affect him. How can it not continue to affect him? His dad is still dead. I think we're always looking for evidence that our kids are okay. So much of any emotional process is on the inside. A loss like this will grow and change inside our kids' hearts, changing not just with the passage of time, but also with their changing capacity to absorb and respond to their parents' or siblings' death. I think we all do. I think all we can do, all any of us can do, is continue to be open about pain, death, grief, and love in age-appropriate ways. We can let our kids know that they can ask us anything. We can let them see our own grief in a way that says, this hurts, and it's okay to feel it. We can ask, knowing that they may not be willing or able to voice what they feel. Sometimes it takes a lifetime to be able to say what you've lost, to see the many ways a family member's death shaped and changed you. I hope for my kid and for yours that our love stays beside them, that the love of the one they've lost stays with them, that they learn to tolerate their own pain, open their heart, and listen for their own voice, even if they never tell us a word. Note, given that I didn't have young children at home, I'm not an expert in the effect of loss on kids. The best place I know for resources on how to help grieving kids, in fact, whole grieving families, is the Dougie Center in Oregon. Though their headquarters are in Portland, they are an international agency and they can point you in the right direction as you navigate loss inside your family. Speaking of family, sometimes families really do stick together and cooperate after a death or catastrophic event. Those are the exceptions, not the rule. Nothing brings out the crazy in a family quite like death. Arguments over what is done with the body, especially if there was no legal document outlining the person's wishes, whether or not there should be a permanent memorial, what anniversary events should look like. In the best of worlds, these things would be negotiated with skill, compassion, and understanding. The best of worlds, however, doesn't often exist. Death throws a monkey wrench into family dynamics. Strained relationships that have found a relatively happy level of mutual tolerance flare into knockdown fights. Opinions and needs all jockey for space. Everyone needs to be seen and be heard. Old conflicts get brought up. Relatives who were distant in life come out of the woodwork. People you think have your back disappear into their own wounded silence. Death shakes everyone up. In my own experience and in the stories I've heard, it seems that however someone behaved pre-death, there will be more of that in the aftermath of death. The people who tend to be calm and rational remain calm and rational. Those who want to those who try to include varying viewpoints, coming to an argument with compassion and patience, tend to do more of the same. And those who argue, blame, and generally act with poor skills do that. There are so many different ways family conflicts show up in these situations. I can't cover them all. Maybe what's more effective than coming up with a solution for each scenario is to give you one way to respond to all of them. In all interpersonal challenges, death related or otherwise, my usual advice is to behave in such a way that you can look back on the experience and feel you used good, healthy skills of negotiation, compassion, and self-advocacy. The way you behave under this kind of stress is really the only thing under your control. If you found yourself arguing over what goes where and how, please be gentle with each other's hearts, including your own. There's really no winner in these situations. No matter who wins the battle over memorials or possessions, the person you love is still dead. This really is a time to ask yourself which of these battles feel most important to you and place your energy there. It's not necessary or helpful to fight every battle or respond to every challenge. Sometimes ignoring poor behavior or bratty demands is the wisest action. Do your best to maintain healthy boundaries, voice your needs, and step away from battles when you can. If something is important to you, advocate for yourself and your family, and remember that no matter what the outcome, your love and connection to the person you've lost can never be taken away. Has grief ended your friendships? Normally, when dealing with the intense family dynamics, I'd encourage you to lean on your sane, dependable friends for a reality check about the way healthy people interact. My hope is that you have at least a few of those beautiful people in your life. And it's one of the cruelest aspects of intense loss. At a time when you most need love and support, some friends either behave horribly or they disappear altogether. There are disappointments and disagreements, old grudges resurface, small fault lines become impassable distances. People say the weirdest, most dismissive and bizarre things. Grief changes your friendship. For many, many people, it ends them. We'll talk more about this in part 3, but for now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how common and how painful this aspect of grief can be. Your loss intersects with often hidden or especially painful heartbreak in some of the people around you. Your pain bumps up against their pain. We may not call it that directly, but that's often what's happening when people behave poorly or fail to understand the immensity of your loss. And even when your friends want to support you, we don't often have the skills, no matter how skilled we truly are, to witness and withstand another's pain. Feeling helpless in the face of loss makes people do strange things. No matter what the deeper reasons are, the loss of friends you thought would stand by you through thick and thin is an added heartbreak. The injustice of these second losses makes grief itself that much more difficult. The one thing people really don't like to talk about, rage. I can't end this chapter without talking about anger and rage. There are a million other things that belong in this chapter, and there simply isn't room. But anger, it deserves a place here. The reality of anger never gets any positive airtime in our culture. You're not supposed to be angry. No matter what happens, showing anger is unseemly. Much like grief, anger is met with deep discomfort. It's fine in short doses, but it needs to be moved through quickly without much noise. This boycott on anger is ridiculous. All emotion is a response to something. Anger is a response to the sense of injustice. Of course, you're angry. Whatever has happened to you is unjust. It doesn't matter whether fairness is logical or whether there's a reason something happened. Contrary to pop psychology and the medical model, anger is healthy, normal, and necessary. As with most things, if it isn't given recognition and support, it gets turned inward, where it can become poisonous. What we don't listen to or refuse to listen to doesn't go away. It just finds other ways to speak. Shushed anger joins a backlog of disallowed emotion popping up in health issues, interpersonal challenges, and mental torment. Those negative images we have of rage actually come from anger that isn't allowed to exist. Repression creates pressure, which creates toxic behaviors set atop what used to be a healthy response to injustice. Anger, allowed expression, is simply energy. It's a response. Allowed expression, it becomes a fierce, protective love for yourself and for the one you've lost. And in some cases, gives you the energy to face what is yours to face. Shown respect and given room, anger tells a story of love and connection and longing for what is lost. There is nothing wrong with that. All of this is to say that your anger surrounding your loss is welcome. It's healthy. It's not something to rush through so you can be more evolved or acceptable to the people around you. Find ways to give your sense of injustice and anger a voice. When you can say you're angry without someone trying to clean it up or rush you through it, it doesn't have to twist back in on itself. Touching your anger can be scary. If it feels too big, lean on a trusted friend or therapist. There is one place having an ally is really useful. It's okay to ask people how they feel about hearing your anger. It lets them be prepared to really listen and allows you to know whether they can hear what's true without trying to rush you through your anger before it's had its say. And everything else? This chapter is meant to give you a sense of normalcy inside a wholly abnormal time. I can't possibly touch on everything here, but the underlying reality of anything you're facing in your grief is that everything is normal. Acknowledgement of your reality is powerful medicine. It's often the only thing that helps. The following chapters go into more detail about specific challenges inside grief, the places where they are concrete tools to help manage what can never actually be fixed. And that is chapter 6 from It's Okay to Not Be Okay. It's Okay That You're Not Okay by Megan Devine. Thank you.